I will get it from.
Hello.
Hello, Graham.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you very well indeed, yes.
Good,
I hope you're well.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
So we were just getting ourselves acquainted in terms of our heights on our chairs and our backgrounds and everything. So we finally got there. Graham, everyone really wanted to meet you. Today, I think the pandemic's really kicked in. You know, we would have loved to have met you. We would love to have given you a high five. Some of the attendees said a hug, but I won't mention who they are.
Okay.
And it would have been really special and amazing to have met you. But we'll make the most of this. But we will definitely be having Graham visit us once our campuses are back open later this year.
That'd be lovely to do. I do that quite a lot and have done a lot with a lot of education establishments over the years. I love talking about this business, PR and publicity and buzz and talkability, and you know, many people can get involved in the industry, the better, I think. It's always
absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I think our Deputy CEO is here. So if we can permit Mohammed Zaidi, our Deputy CEO, to enter, if he's waiting in the lobby.
Hello, hi, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing?
all right.
Good afternoon.
So a quick open for everyone. What we are going to do is we're going to be asking Graham a number of questions about the amazing way that the Weetabix treat last week was simply a home run, characterized by its great assembly of responses from brands, individuals, and indeed politicians. And I said earlier today, Graham, that what Marvel's Endgame did for the Avengers, I think Weetabix did for brands. So I'm really excited about your responses today. So let's start with our opening question from our amazing student union president, Irina.
Oh, thank you. All the time complimenting. Thank you, Kunal. And thank you to Mr. Graham that give to all of us this opportunity, and we can have the chance to make some questions. So on behalf of Mr. Zaidi, I will ask what made Weetabix and baked beans break the Twitter? We never seen, let alone tasted anything like this. What made it?
I think there are a few reasons. I mean, obviously with Weetabix, just to put it in context as well, Weetabix has been a client of Frank, my agency, for about 6 or 7 years now, maybe longer actually, 7 or 8 years. So, you know, we've been working with them a while. They're also an old established brand that have been about, I think, since 1932 when Weetabix and the recipe was first invented. And there's kind of not a lot of new news there. You know, normally in a PR agency or if you're a PR company, you get excited or there's stuff to do when there's new launches or there's new products or there's new this or there's new that. You know, there's been nothing new really with Weetabix since it was invented back in 1932. It's pretty much the same product, formulation, recipe, etc. So you're always having to be quite creative in coming up with ways to keep it relevant, talk about it. And I think then you have to sort of balance with that what the client's messaging is. And the client's messaging at the moment for Weetabix, and that their strategy will change every year or so, or whatever. At the moment, it's looking at, you know, staying healthy. People are eating a lot more breakfasts than they were before because we've got a bit more time because we've been locked down. So actually, we're probably all eating a bit more. I know I am, unfortunately. But we're all eating, you know, certainly have got more time for breakfast. And we'll not just grab and go. You've got to rush out of the house because you've got to get somewhere. You know, there's nowhere to get to. So it's not so much about rushing out of the house. So people are definitely eating more and they're looking to eat healthily and they're looking for ideas to do that. So the latest Weetabix above the line advertising campaign talks about that. So we wanted to do something below the line or via publicity that goes with that. And the sort of origin of the idea really came about from us looking at that fact that people were eating more breakfast, looking for ideas and inspiration. Everyone was a bit down and a bit depressed by, you know, the lockdown number 3 and well into it. It's pretty gloomy out there. So it's a pretty miserable time of year. And then we sort of hit upon this interesting insight of, and we'd spotted via our social listening, a few people talking about unusual things that you could have Weetabix with, and there seemed to be a bit of a trend in sort of unusual food combinations, so to speak. And like I know, for example, and everyone's got it, and then we thought, well, everyone's kind of got these unusual food combinations. I don't know. My wife, for example, she likes smoked salmon, and I like smoked salmon, and she likes HP sauce, and I like HP sauce, but she likes smoked salmon and HP sauce together. Personally, I don't get it. It doesn't work for me. I really like them both individually, but not in combination. And I guess it's the same with Weetabix and baked beans. A lot of people like Weetabix, a lot of people like baked beans, but you wouldn't necessarily combine them together. So that's kind of where we got the nugget of the idea from, is could we come up with, building on Weetabix's idea for coming up with different suggestions of where you could eat Weetabix healthily. They're sort of combining it with obvious things like, you know, various fruits or various fruits and, you know, stewed fruits or different toppings or whatever. What could we do? Healthy toppings. What could we do? Yogurt and stuff like that. What could we do in a way that you wouldn't necessarily think together? So hence the idea of Weetabix and baked beans was born. But it's important to say it was born in the context of other brands as well. So when we came up with the idea for Weetabix and baked beans, we also had a few other brands lined up. So we had Weetabix and Marmite, and Weetabix and Innocent, for example, were two others that we'd already had up our sleeve, other brands, and we'd done it with them. With baked beans, we did it officially. So we got in touch with Heinz, their official social media channels, and we told them what our idea was, what our insight was, and what our idea was, and would they play ball? Would they obviously promote it on their social media channels? They said yes. We did the same conversation with Marmite, the same conversation with Innocent, and a couple of others. So that when we hit with that first Weetabix and beans tweet, we had others that were already lined up and ready to go to create that bandwagon effect. Because what made this campaign work was, I think at the last count, there were over 500 brands that jumped on or piggybacked on their story in terms of either their own combinations or, you know, kind of their sort of abhorrence of the idea, I guess, or their opposition to the idea. It had that talkability, and we use the word a lot, Frank, that talkability about it. So that caused it to go viral, and as you say, break the internet. Obviously, lots of people were responding to it as well individually. Weetabix were well on top of it, and our social media team that were working for Weetabix back at the agency jumped on not every single, but a lot of responses with quite witty, quick turnarounds that sort of built up the banter or the brand banter. Someone called it branter the other day. I saw that expression, which is now like brand banter, is now called banter. I'm not sure I like the term myself, but you know, that's entered the language, and it kind of, you know, mushroomed from then on. And as every good idea, as is the anatomy, if you like, of every good idea, it sort of got a bit out of control. And when, you know, it was going, you know, I have to say the reaction surprised us. Obviously, we kickstarted it. The clever bit, I think, was we kickstarted it. It didn't just happen by accident. We, you know, it wasn't just a bit of luck. We made our own luck. And then it got bigger and bigger than I think anyone could have imagined, really.
I think I'm gonna try the Weetabix with Marmite because I love Marmite.
There you go. But as I've learned from smoked salmon and HP sauce, things that you like separately don't always work together. So you might be disappointed. I don't know really.
No, I don't think, but I will give it a go and let you know.
Yeah. So I think does that answer your question in terms of how it sort of came about? You know, it was based on the important thing to remember. It was based on a really good insight, based on something that we knew people would share and talk about, based on a period of timing. I think our timing was spot on as well. It was, for me, the lowest of the low bit of lockdown, and we hadn't yet heard the announcement that we heard earlier in the week. The weather was miserable. We'd been locked down for bloody ages. And we needed a bit of cheering up and a bit of, you know, a bit of fun, something to talk about, something to share. So I think the timing was spot on. That wasn't luck either. We did time it. Obviously, we'd been working on this for a while and had this idea for a bit. And the fact is that we made our own luck. So we had some other brands that we'd already lined up to follow on. And then that spurred other brands to follow on. It was that brand banter that really kick-started that snowball effect of everyone weighing it in. Did everyone see some of the pickup of it and some of the other tweets that other people followed about with. I mean, I go through it because it still amazes me, and it's probably someone else's question. I don't know, but you know, some of my favourites. I've just got kind of got the notes. It's the NHS, so the official Twitter account. It wasn't just other brands. It was the NHS came out with, you know, this tweet should come with a health warning. Tinder, you know, yes. Tinder said, trust us, this is not a match. You know, we had countries weighing in. The US Embassy, they said this is not the UK-USA collaboration we were hoping for, because obviously Heinz is owned by an American company. The British Embassy replied with strong opinion from the nation that makes tea in a microwave. KFC asked Alexa how someone could delete that tweet.
I love the comment from Pfizer, the ones they made antivirus, and as well the Israeli embassy as well. It was
my favorite. Yeah, you've hit my favorite. I mean, I love the Pfizer one. They've obviously done, you know, invented the vaccine. There, you know, there was, you know, haven't our scientists worked hard enough without having to come up with an antidote to this? Was their comment. And as you say, Israel. The official state of Israel, you know, came up with. I mean, you know, it shows you how it gets everywhere. You know, they came up with they tweeted, finally something that all Middle Eastern countries can agree on. Just no. Want to know how you can upgrade your Weetabix? Hummus was their solution. But I like to think that after all these years of the discord in that region, that we've gone some way to easing the peace situation in Middle East. Who would have thought that Weetabix and beans could be a route to peace in the Middle East? I don't know, but it shows you, doesn't it? But yeah, there were brilliant reactions, you know, and there were literally hundreds more, literally hundreds more.
Right. So we think it's a pandemic respite. Do you think the response showed exactly? Do you think that made us feel that the brands are like all human, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think what's happened is that particularly on social media, brands, you know, are publishing things. They are you know, responsible for content that fills our lives, and I think they're definitely you know, they're definitely having to get a grip with particularly what the mood of the nation and the mood of the moment. And I think, you know, things that work get their timing right, and things that don't work normally they've got their, you know, timing wrong. So I think, you know, like we say, timing is everything. You have to tune into the zeitgeist. But I think it's important as well that particularly other brands, from a timing point of view, other brands had to get on the case as well. And just the way it works in the brand world or agency world, turning round those responses is sometimes quite hard. Is that, you know, when you're working with clients in the real world, you have to get stuff approved. So obviously, before we would do this campaign, we had to get it approved by Weetabix, we had to get it approved by Heinz, by Marmite, by Innocent, all the other people doing it. So all those other people responded. The people that run their social media channels for them would have had to get it approved by their clients and turn those responses around quite quickly. Because if you responded the next day, it was sort of gone, and, you know, we're on to the next thing the next day. It had to be pretty topical. So I think it's credit, and it just showed me actually that how many brands were actually really well set up to be quite responsive to presumably customers, or, you know, the people that are interacting with them, their followers, the people they're engaging with. I thought it was quite impressive how so many brands were, you know, kind of worked pretty well in that respect. And you're right, is they feel a bit more human as a result, because, you know, we'll only respond to stuff if we're humans, and we're on social media. We only normally respond to stuff that's relevant and topical. We don't, you know, there's no point in us responding several days later.
Yes. So if we would have not been on this situation with the pandemic, do you think that the response would be the same?
Who knows? It's difficult to know. I think, as I said, the moment was perfect. It was a rubbish week, a particularly low week. I remember, I don't know if I do a slot on Talk Radio every month with, I don't know if you listen to it, there's an ex-apprentice star who presents at the breakfast show. And I did a slot that week, a couple of days earlier. And I was reviewing the papers, and basically I go through every newspaper and try and pick out some interesting, fun stories to talk about. And for the first time ever, and I've been doing it for about a year and a half, for the first time ever, I really struggled to find 4 or 5 stories that cheered me up or were good stories. It was all doom and gloom, you know, coronavirus this, coronavirus that. And I remember remarking afterwards, I said, it's really disappointing today that the newspapers are so, you know, depressing, really. And
Yes.
I almost felt that there was almost a duty for some of our publishers to keep the mood of the nation afloat, because they do set out the media agenda, and the media agenda, to an extent, dictates how we're feeling about ourselves. So I think definitely, you know, you know, we needed it. And I think, would it be the response if it not a pandemic? Maybe. I mean, it depends if you got your timing right. The other bit of timing that was good, by the way, is that we were pairing stuff up together. It was a context of Valentine's Day was happening that weekend as well. So it was kind of, we positioned it a bit as of a love story as well. And obviously, you know, we're all needing a love story come Valentine's Day, and it did sort of go off in that angle and direction in a few different social media avenues. So, you know, that helps. Timing helps. And I guess a pandemic did help in the sense that we needed a bit of light-hearted relief. But you look at the ingredients, I think it would have worked at any time, to be honest. It just maybe really worked because it was the pandemic.
I had many of the feedbacks from students because they already tried, and actually some of them, they like it, so it was a good combination.
No, and I've had lots of feedback. People have tried it as well, and it is a combination that normally people go, it's not as bad as it sounds, is normally the reaction that I get to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I will leave the next question then for the Vice President of Student Union of Aston Campus, which is Carmen Georgiou. Carmen, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Goodkind. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right.
Mr. Goodkind, can you please share with us how did you come up with this creative idea? I think it really will be a social media case study for years to come. Yeah,
no, thank you. I mean, Frank works in a very collaborative team environment. There's about 40 of us. Obviously, we're working remotely at the moment, but we use a process to try and help us with creativity, because being in an agency world, you know, having lots of clients and a big agency and lots of briefs and lots of things to do for lots of clients the whole time, to come up with ideas, it's not always like that you come up with an idea. So having a bit of a process or structure for creativity, I've always felt has been very important. And at Frank, we have this word called talkability, which is what we try and create for our clients, you know, the buzz that takes over and does your best marketing for you. And I think certainly this Weetabix and Beans campaign is a brilliant example of talkability. You know, the sort of things that you talk about around the water cooler that, I don't know, when we used to go down to the pub after studying or after work, you used to talk about down the pub, stuff that you might share with people on social media or email to people, whatever. So coming up with those ideas is really embedded in the DNA of Frank. And there's a bit of a process behind it. So we came up with the idea via our process, and within that process, I won't kind of bore you with the detail of it. I've structured it around asking ourselves 4 different questions or 4 different things that we play with, and we play with the conventions of a category or marketplace. So conventions are, you know, I guess you would sum them up as the culturally embedded biases which shape the approaches to doing things in that brand space. And then we try and disrupt those conventions. So, for example, Weetabix and food combinations other than milk or sugar or even butter and cheeses is quite common. But Weetabix and unusual food combinations is breaking up the normal conventions in that space or category. So that's kind of one of the triggers that helps. You know, we look at also the zeitgeist and how you can get to grips with that. And, you know, we sort of said ourselves, well, we need something fun. So it needs to be something not serious, not too getting obsessed with a healthy eating message, which might be a good time and place for that. But this wasn't the time and place for that. We wanted something a bit more fun. We look at the other things. We look at the perceptions of a brand, which didn't really come into play in this case. And we look at the imagery and visualization. And, you know, obviously the imagery and visualization of the Weetabix and baked beans was quite important because it was an unusual visualization. You don't normally see baked beans on top of a Weetabix. So we play with those levers, and between asking ourselves those questions, that gives us a framework for the team to come up with the idea.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna next question. We're gonna hear it from Luxandra Golding. She is a student union coordinator in Elephant and Castle. So, Luxandra, please.
Everyone, good afternoon. My question is, was the campaign all organic?
Simple answer, yes. The total budget for the campaign astounds me, actually, because, you know, if you think of what it costs us just under 5,000. It cost Weetabix just under £5,000. That was how much it cost us in our fee that they pay us, and how much it cost in the materials to produce. So obviously there was a photography shoot where we, you know, had to buy the ingredients and shoot the pack, shoot the Weetabix with baked beans. We probably had to do that a couple of times to get a few different pictures before they went too mushy or whatever. Similar with, you know, with Innocent and Marmite, that was all part of that shoot. So the total for under £5,000 spent with via us. Not all of it went to Frank, but you know, some of it did, and there was zero spend, you know, paid in any way, shape, or form. It was completely organic.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
Okay. Next question was mine, but you already answered to me.
Yeah, so yeah,
Still without replies. So next question is coming from one of our great students from Luton campus, which is Mr. Abdul. Abdul, can you please go ahead?
Yeah. Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Goodkind.
Hi.
Do you know, it is really unusual to see something so simple yet so striking taking over so much of the social media. My basic question is, your tweet got a Guinness World Record. Can you sort of like just elaborate on that? Before you do that, can I just say, I mean, I personally associate Guinness World Record with people with extraordinary talent. And for you guys to get that World Guinness Record purely putting two simple food together, I don't know, it's just something really difficult to comprehend. So I would, you know, love to get insight how you planned this or how you sort of like got to that stage.
Well, thank you. I think that the thing is that what brands realise, such as Guinness World Records, so that they would be one, is that there was PR value in it for themselves. So they weren't doing it to be flattering and complimentary and be really nice. They were doing it because they wanted to create their own story, and you can see that evidence that a lot of other brands jumped on the bandwagon to try and be part of this meme, if you like, or this moment that they were trying to do it. So I think with Guinness World Record, a slightly tongue-in-cheek record that they gave us. I don't think they've been completely serious because they gave us the record for the most random breakfast combination ever, which is something. But look, I've been in PR for many years, so I've worked for lots of different brands. So I've worked for Guinness Book of Records myself. They've been a client of mine on a couple of occasions now, a couple of different agencies. So I know that they work there. They're always looking for new and interesting ways to talk about their brand because, you know, similarly, the Guinness Book of Records has been about for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. It's, you know, certainly been about for ever since I was a kid, and my parents used to get me that for my birthday or whatever, as it was, or Christmas or whatever it was. So they're always looking at stuff to talk about. So them just shows for them to be part of the conversation was important for their brand and to keep their brand relevant. As I said, I'm not sure how much they meant it, but you know, it certainly got them involved in the conversation.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. We have our next question is coming from another student from Birmingham campus, from Aston. William Piper, is your turn now. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Goodkind. Thank you very much for your time that you've spending with us today.
No, my pleasure.
I've noted that the Sainsbury's coordinated the unlikely pairing of the brands for the Valentine's Day. Now, you've just said that that was part of your timing, but
yeah.
so did these impact sales in Sainsbury's? or
Well,
how did that combination have a great effect?
The short answer is, I mean, like everyone, they fell in love with the idea. We actually suggested the idea to various retailers, and Weetabix went to their retailers because, obviously they want to sell more Weetabix or units. So they're trying to work out ways to get their retailers excited about their brand. And obviously, again, we said Weetabix brand has been about for years, and nothing really much happens in that category. So here was something that happened. So that was quite deliberate, that conversation with Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's obviously loved the idea. They did pair the brands together and put them like the end of some of their aisles, or prolific points in the stores, which obviously normally brands would have to pay for, but in this instance they didn't, because they were jumping on the story themselves. So it was free free promotional space for Weetabix, and baked beans were also beneficiaries from it. And the short answer, amazingly, in terms of sales, and you don't often see this so easily out of a PR story like this, but Sainsbury's reported it, so it's independent data. It came to them, they reported it in the Grocer magazine, that they'd seen sales of Weetabix increase year on year by 15%. So we'd engineered this whole idea. It wasn't just brilliant fun. It wasn't just something that made us laugh for a day or two on the internet. It wasn't just something that got tons of coverage outside of that, and ended up in the House of Commons being debated. It actually translated into sales. I mean, and that's and significant sales, and a 15% uplift is massively significant. And the point I did miss out on, actually my favourite bit, was the point I made about the House of Commons. That was probably for me the best bit of the campaign. And this happened, I don't know if anyone saw it, about a day or two later, and it was on the BBC, because they obviously showed live coverage from the chambers of the House of Commons. An MP, actually was the MP for the region where Weetabix are actually made and manufactured. He stood up in the House of Parliament, and he said to the Speaker, he goes, "I think there needs to be a debate in the chambers of the House of Parliament about Weetabix and beans, because in my opinion, this issue is even more divisive in the country than Brexit was. And we need to talk about it." And I was watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't really true. This isn't really happening. And then Jacob Rees-Mogg, who isn't necessarily my favourite politician in the world, and probably not a lot of people's favourite politician in the world, actually weighed in on the debate. He sort of said how he really didn't like the idea of Weetabix and baked beans. He actually said how much he disliked baked beans and how much he loved Weetabix. Then he started explaining about how he prefers his Weetabix in quite a lot of detail, about how he likes to have his Weetabix. And then he starts talking about actually his favourite breakfast is his nanny's marmalade, whatever that is. And typical, the typical sort of very proper British accent that he's got as well when he explains stuff. But, for me to have grown from increasing sales through to being, included in the debates in the House of Parliament as an issue that's more divisive than Brexit, I was completely gobsmacked, to be honest.
Thank you for your question, William.
Thank you, Mr. Goodkind.
Thanks, William.
The next question is coming for the Vice President of Student Union from Wembley Campus, Sophia Borgley. Sophia.
Thank you so much, Rina. Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Okay,
I just wanted to ask, is there now national shortage of Weetabix and baked beans? Just because I've seriously seen a shortage of Weetabix on my online shop.
Perhaps, I don't know. I haven't heard of any. As I said, the sales, Sainsbury's reported a spike in sales, and I would expect that it would have been the same case in other retailers too. We haven't quite got the data yet back to see what the overall trend was, but if Sainsbury's sales increase, you'd expect it to have been in other stores as well. So yeah, maybe your shop is as a result of that campaign. I hope so, and I hope that doesn't mean you're missing out, Sophia, and can't get your hands on any.
Yeah, I tried do not miss out the Weetabix mixed with innocent.
Okay, no. What you like that on good or bad?
I love it.
Okay, really? Okay.
I'm always having Weetabix with fruits.
Okay, yeah, interesting. That was the idea behind it. Good, good, good.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks.
Thank you, Sophia. Our next question is coming for this lovely student we have again in Aston campus, which is Ayan Duale. Ayan, you can put your question, please.
Hi, Graham. Thanks
Hi.
for having us here today. Hi.
Hi,
Hi. My question is, what else has happened since the tweet broke the internet? Because we have noticed the Magic Breakfast challenge for the children in need. So, what can you add to that? That has happened?
Explain what Magic Breakfast are doing. What they are.
They are challenging each other for children in need for eating the breakfast. No, the baked behind beans with the Weetabix. Famous people are doing that, and then whatever money or wherever that comes out of it goes to the children in need, which is a great thing.
That's fantastic.
Have you not seen that?
Yeah, no, I haven't. And I know I can. I'll have to open the tweet afterwards. I mean, literally, so many things are happening that it's. I mean, that's the point. I think about your question. There've been so many things happening that it's been quite hard to keep up with. With everything that goes on, and I think the thing with every client is that this bit of activity is only one part of our overall work for them. Obviously, it's a part that worked amazingly well. I think what has happened is since then, obviously, it started appearing in national media. So stories that are big on social media, or big enough on social media, start cross over into the mainstream environment. And like I said, it ended up in the House of Commons. It also ended up, the next morning on Good Morning Britain. Piers Morgan was there bright and early in the morning, eating his baked beans and on Weetabix, talking about what a brilliant campaign was, talk about how it had broken the internet the day before. Then when I switched on this morning about 11 o'clock, Philip Schofield and Holly were there doing the same thing, although they didn't actually eat it. They were talking about it. It was on, loads of radio shows with DJs, on Capital, on Virgin, on all these, different BBC stations. Everyone was talking about it and doing their own versions. And obviously Magic Breakfast, similarly as well, have done. It was that sort of story that everyone, it was an easy one to understand. Everyone got it. Everyone was familiar with the brands involved. Everyone was, a bit about the combination. So everyone felt the same, and it just opened the pathways to lots more conversations and as I said, talkability.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ian.
One more question, Mr. Graham, and we're going to finish this interrogatorium.
Okay.
So, Carmen, will you please go ahead with the last question?
Thank you. Mr. Goodkind, following this campaign, you have reached social media peak, but where do you go from here?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, as an agency, as Frank, we've been in a nice position where literally over the last week we've had probably half a dozen potential clients come to us to say, we want another Weetabix idea. Can you do one for us? We've also had the rest of our clients who have seen it happen, come to us saying, so the pressure's on is the answer. Is you're only as good as your last idea. At the end of the day, that's done. That was sort of coming up to a couple of weeks ago now, and we're on to the next thing. And Weetabix are a brand, like we say, they've been here for 100 years. They're going to be here for the next 100 years. So they're going to need more ideas to keep them relevant and to keep them being talked about. And I guess in my time, this is probably, I would say, probably the most successful campaign that I've really ever worked on and been involved with. So, I'm very proud of that, but I'm also conscious that actually once you've done this, the pressure's really on to keep on delivering it for that client and for other clients. I mean, we've raised the bar now. Now as an agency, we've got to keep on performing to that level, which is probably good because it pushes us, but we've now got to come up with the next one.
Thank you very much for your response.
Thanks, Carmen.
We are looking forward for the next one then.
Yeah, I know. No pressure, no pressure.
No. Okay, Kunal, it's your turn. Thank you for all this opportunity, Mr. Graham.
Right, you're welcome.
Well, Well, firstly, I would like to thank our amazing students. Those questions were absolutely spot on and phenomenal. And Graham, thank you so much for your time. You know, you're obviously very busy. You are at the peak of your campaign, so to speak, and you know, making time for LSST and its students is very, very generous and kind of you, and we really do appreciate it. So we've learned a lot.
Lovely. It's lovely to share it. You know, it's lovely to, you know, it's lovely to have a campaign that's worth talking about, and hopefully you can learn from and maybe one day go out and sort of try and replicate or do your own version of.
Definitely. And, you know, simply on behalf of everyone at LSST, thank you so much for making us smile and laugh and sharing our banter, because it couldn't have come at a more deserved time.
Yeah, no, agreed. Well, we'll all be through it soon, hopefully, and through to the other side, please God.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank
you very much, Graham.
Graham, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And everyone, nice to see everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
No, thanks for arranging the meeting.
Thank you for your time as well.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Virtual elbow bump.
Bye-bye.
Well done, everyone. That was really good. Really lovely question. I don't think I could have gone any better, to be honest. So, yeah, hats off to you all. And I raise my glass of water to you all. Good on you.